For more on President Obama's speech, let me turn to Robert Moran in Los Angeles. He's a partner and an expert in public opinion research at the advisory firm Brunswick Group. Robert, welcome.
Thank you.
So your reaction to the speech, the White House had dubbed this as a non-traditional speech. Was it, and did he certainly seemed to avoid a list of long legislative to-do list?
Well, I wouldn't call it a non-traditional speech. I would say my overall reaction to it was quite positive. I thought it began with a very optimistic tone. I thought it was future-focused. He was clearly trying to define his legacy a bit. But I think it lost momentum about midway through the speech, where it focused more on a laundry list of accomplishments and defending those accomplishments. But the beginning, especially talking about some of the challenges of the future, about a 21st century economy in which automation threatens a number of jobs, I thought that was very strong.
He also talked about, as you mentioned, his foreign policy accomplishments, including the restoration of diplomatic ties with Cuba, TPP partnership, trade deal, but really not much about Iraq, Afghanistan, or Syria.
Well, that's right. If you look at the amount of time that was expended on his speech, quite a bit was spent on foreign policy. In part, I think because his ratings on foreign policy are relatively low compared to his other ratings as a president. He omitted a number of things. I think he was trying to hit some of the strong points. Public opinion supports his move on Cuba. Public opinion does not necessarily support his move on Iran, but he was trying to defend that.
Robert, is there anything President Obama should have done differently in that speech?
Well, I think he needed to focus much more on the economic reality of the 21st century and begin the tougher conversation of what needs to be done in terms of policy to support that economy and good-paying jobs in the 21st century. A number of reports have come out showing that around 45 to 47% of American jobs are at risk of automation, robots and algorithms. And there will be a lot of turbulence in this new century economically. And many of our institutions were built in the 1930s and 1960s and will have to be re-engineered for this 21st century economy. And I think he missed an opportunity to really talk about that. He began to talk about that, but I think he needed to finish the job. I still think he deserves kudos for raising some of these issues, though.
And he made no direct reference to any specific presidential contender, but he did reject the divisive rhetoric used by some Republicans, warning against intolerance and bigotry when it came to basically defending Muslims. And it's really seemed to be one of his strongest remarks.
Yeah, it was also sly politics. The president is a very, very keen political operator, and he realized that taking a swipe at Donald Trump would actually likely help Donald Trump in his Republican primary. And I think from a Democratic perspective, helping any Republican candidate that's not viable in a general election is smart politics. So I thought it was very sly on his part, and also has the added benefit of being true.
What do you think about what he said about fighting the extremist threat in U.S. and abroad? He said, I'm quoting here, "We just need to call them," talking about the ISIL terrorists, what they are, "killers and fanatics who have to be rooted out, hunted down, and destroyed."
I thought it was very good. I think it's being blunt and honest. He's the commander-in-chief, and those are the things he should say. I do question some of his rhetoric mentioning Osama bin Laden, for example. I'm not sure we needed to dignify him by even saying his name. And I do worry that, rhetorically speaking, if you emphasize too much your toughness, it calls into question whether you're truly tough. If you're truly tough, you don't need to tell people that you are tough.
Understood. We'll leave it at that. Robert Moran, thank you so much, sir, for your time.